I think it would be wrong to call Hamas a proxy. Hamas is an extension. The problem with Iran is, and their relationship with Hamas is, that not only do they flaunt it, they're extremely proud of it. If you target Israel, they're coming after you. Only one Israeli person was killed in this entire episode, and that Israeli was a lieutenant colonel. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Netanyahu, and he was Benjamin Netanyahu's elder brother. The Muslim world will take them seriously. The problem is, as soon as they come into combat with the Israeli army, Iran is no match. I want to ask the Supreme Leader of Iran, what's wrong with you? I think Sinwar is number one. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. You know, Ismail Haniyeh, the big fish, has been assassinated today morning in Tehran. Now, this is according to reports from Iranian state media and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, they say that the assassination occurred early on July 31st, 2024, which is today, when Haniyeh's residence was reportedly targeted, resulting in his death and that of a bodyguard. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to analyze this piece of news before I move ahead, and the fact that Ismail Haniyeh had come, and we'll discuss a little, more of that later. He had come for the inauguration of the president, which essentially shows how strongly entrenched Hamas is inside Israel. And I think it would be wrong to call Hamas a proxy of the state of Iran. I don't think Hamas is a proxy. I think Hamas is an extension of the Islamic Republic of Iran because, you see, whenever a country supports a terror group, whenever a country supports a militant group, they like to keep it under wraps. This is typically a covert sort of an operation which nobody recognizes. The problem with Iran is, and their relationship with Hamas is, that not only do they flaunt it, they're extremely proud of it. And very recently, Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, has said that they will take revenge on Israel because of this death. They're going to take revenge. You take revenge for one of your own. So there is nothing hidden in the relationship between Hamas and Iran. Now, as I mentioned, Haniyeh had recently attended the inauguration of Iran's new president and met with the supreme leader prior to the attack, indicating a significant presence in Iranian political circles at that time, which means, as I told you, that these guys are part of the system. They are not away from the system. And here is a question that I'd like to ask you. And do you think that Hamas and Hezbollah are actually extensions of the Iranian army or the Iranian armed forces, rather than being proxies? You see, I always knew, and the world always knew, that they were living in Qatar, they were living in Turkey, they were living in Iran, they were living all over the world, and they were living under the protection of the state. And many states use human rights as a shield to give protection to the people or such people. Many states do that. The United States of America may consider somebody innocent, and another country may consider that person to be a terrorist. And the US will give protection to that person because it suits US. But the US will always, brush it up a little, saying that, this man is a peace activist, right? Or this man is running an NGO. Or he's an analyst, and I don't know why, or we don't know why people are after him. There is always this attempt to hide. In case of Hamas and Hezbollah, it's very open. They're welcomed like heroes. They're welcomed like national heroes. And they meet the heads of state in Iran. They meet the supreme leader. That is how high Hamas goes. So earlier on 10th of April, ladies and gentlemen, 3 sons of Haniyeh were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. His 3 sons, Hazem, Amir, and Mohammed, they were killed after a car that they were traveling in, or driving actually, was bombed in Gaza's Al-Shati camp. And Hamas came up with this media release, and they said that, they have become shaheed, or they have become martyrs, so to say. And they said that Haniyeh's family has sacrificed so much for the cause of Palestine. The Israeli government has not commented on the incident, the incident of the killing of this Hamas leader, this political head in Tehran. They've not said anything about it, but suspicion has very quickly fallen in Israel because Israel has a history of targeting Hamas leaders. Let me tell you, Israel has a history, actually, not just of Hamas leaders. Israel has a history of targeting anybody who targets Israel. Let me give you an example. In 1972, there were the Munich Olympic Games, and I think 11 odd Israeli Olympians, or they had come to take part in the Olympics, they were killed by the Palestinians. It took Israel more than a decade. But Israel found out each and every single member of the gang who were either funding, planning, or directly involved in the operation. They were tracked down, and every single person involved in that operation, directly or indirectly, was eliminated. This was Operation Wrath of God. Operation Wrath of God was an operation in which, I'll come to more of that later. I'll explain, but this is typically what Israel does. And anybody is saying that Israel has a history of only targeting Hamas leaders. No, they'll target anybody who targets Israel. It does not matter. Geography, nationality is inconsequential to the state of Israel. They don't care about diplomacy. They don't care. If you target Israel, they're coming after you. So, ladies and gentlemen, going back to 22nd of November, last year, Netanyahu stated that he had given Mossad instructions to take action against leaders of Hamas, regardless of where they were located. And Yoav Gallant, who's Minister of Defense for Israel, stated that the leaders of Hamas are currently living on borrowed time. Now, this is what America does. This is what Russia does. China has done it to some extent. But I think Israel, despite its size, Israel is very small in terms of population, in terms of land size. But the kind of operations that the Israeli forces have conducted, especially covert, they are the stuff of legend. You can talk about the NTV raid, you can talk about Eric Eichmann's kidnapping from Argentina, and there are so many more, In fact, the raid in NTB was that when Palestinian terrorists had hijacked this entire plane load of Jews. There were other nationalities also, but majorly Jews. And they were taken to Uganda. Uganda is thousands upon thousands of kilometers away from Israel. Israel launched an operation. They traveled thousands of kilometers by aircraft. Their commandos, this unit called Sariyat Matkal. Sariyat Matkal is like India's para-SF or the Delta Force of the Americans, something like that. So these guys went all the way. They killed everybody there. They took the hostages and they brought the hostages back. This is a textbook operation. I learned it when I was in the Indian Army. I read about it when I was in the Indian Army. There have been films made on NTV. Some very good films have been made on NTV, and this entire NTV operation was planned like clockwork. They even got the Mercedes-Benz, exactly like the one that Idi Amin, General Idi Amin, the military dictator of Uganda, he was a cannibal, by the way, he ate other human beings. He was using, they got the replica of that Mercedes. So when they were actually driving out, after the plane landed, it came out of the ramp, and when it was driving all in the dark, people actually thought that the president was there, and a couple of guards even saluted the car. Later on, of course, they came to know the surprise was lost. And only one Israeli person was killed in this entire episode, and that Israeli was a lieutenant colonel. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Netanyahu, and he was Benjamin Netanyahu's elder brother. Both of them, Benjamin Netanyahu and his elder brother, both of them belong to the same unit. The unit is called Sariyat Matkal. Now, they said that everybody from Hamas is living on borrowed time. The killing of Haniyeh comes after Israel carried out a rare strike on Beirut, which it said killed Fuad Shukur, a top Hezbollah military commander. So Fuad Shukur is on the top of the pecking order in the Hezbollah. Hezbollah had fired rockets on Israel some time back, and this was a retaliation strike. They got Fuad Shukur, and this is what the Israelis have been saying. You attack Israel, we will find you, and there is no place for you to hide. You can't hide anywhere. It doesn't make sense for you to hide. You can hide in Qatar, you can hide in Iran, you can hide in Turkey. It doesn't matter. We'll get you. And Israel has done it in Europe. There was a huge diplomatic row. There was a huge problem. There was condemnation worldwide. But Israel just continued. They stopped the revenge for some time. And then again they started, when there was a change in prime minister, they again started this whole cycle. So vendetta and getting even and revenge is something which is very close to the Israelis, because they know if they don't go after Hamas and Hezbollah, wherever they are in the world, right? Then Israel will no longer exist, because people will say, you can keep on hitting Israel and it has no consequence. Iran has won Israel over the killing of Ismail Haniyeh. As I mentioned, an Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has said in a statement on his official website that we consider his revenge as our duty. Now, this is big talk coming from Iran, ladies and gentlemen, very honestly. This is massively big talk, because Iran doesn't want to fight, right? Iran is not going to send its soldiers to Palestine or anywhere else to fight the Israelis. Iran is not going to do that. Iran has never done it except for the Iran-Iraq war, where Saddam Hussein invaded, so they had to fight. Saddam Hussein started that Iran-Iraq war. But Iran is not known for attacking other countries. Iran is known for using terror networks. So when the Supreme Leader of Iran says we consider his revenge as our duty, he's basically saying that we'll ask Hezbollah and Hamas to fire more rockets as Israel. That's it. I do not see a scenario where Iranians are getting involved in a direct conflict with Israel, because I'll tell you why. There is a reason, ladies and gentlemen. As long as Iran does not attack Israel, Iran can keep on talking big. And there is no tax on talking big. They can keep on talking big. They can keep on saying, hey, this and that, and we'll do this, and we'll finish off the Jews, and they can keep on threatening, and the Muslim world will take them seriously. The problem is, as soon as they come into combat with the Israeli army, right, army to army, Iran is no match. They'll hammer Iran into submission. They will do that. The Israelis will do that. Israelis are facing a problem in Gaza for various other things, because all these people, the Hamas, they don't wear a uniform. There is a guy wearing jeans and t-shirt, and problem is that if you kill him at that point in time, and before he dies, he manages to throw away his rifle or something. He's shot, he's bleeding, and he wants to throw away his rifle. It's very difficult to say that this guy belongs to Hamas or he was armed. There is always confusion. Otherwise, you look at the 1967 war, you look at the 1973 war, 4 or 5 Muslim countries have together attacked Israel. And Israel has thrashed them black and blue. Now, he said that Israel had prepared a harsh punishment for itself by killing a dear guest in our home. I don't understand this kind of language. A dear guest in a home. Why do you have guests like this? I want to ask the Supreme Leader of Iran, what's wrong with you? Why would you want to have Hamas as a guest? Of course, the Israelis will get him. They'll get him everywhere. Tomorrow, if you have another, Hamas person or senior leader in Tehran, the Israelis will get him. They'll get him. I hope they get one guy in Turkey. I hope they get one guy in Turkey also very soon. It's very important. And Erdogan has been threatening that I will come and I'll come with my army. He's got this Ottoman fixation in his mind, and he thinks that the Ottoman Empire still lives. I think it's time for the IDF to give our good friend Erdogan a wake-up call. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the organization chart of Hamas, you see that Ismail Haniyeh is right at the very top. He has been eliminated. And Saleh al-Aruri, he's West Bank Affairs leader. He's been assassinated. And there are others, Salameh Katawi, Ghazan Affairs, Yahya Sinwar, Palestinian Diasporic Affairs, led by Khalid Mashal. So I think Khalid Mashal and, Yahya Sinwar, these could be the next possible targets. I think Sinwar is number one, if you ask me. But it all depends on convenience of the Israelis, whom they can get first. So these guys would be the next targets. And other senior leaders, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, and senior commanders, Iranian officials, Palestinian Authority figures, militant leaders in Gaza, terrorist leaders, Islamic Jihad. Now, I just want to tell you, in the end, what is Kidon and who has probably carried out this strike. So within Mossad, Mossad is their foreign intelligence agency. So Israel's foreign intelligence is looked after by Mossad, and Mossad has a very small elite special operations group inside Mossad, and they say that not more than 4 or 5 dozen people are part of that group. This is old. This is old information. I don't know if it's been, something has changed or not, but 4 or 5 dozen, 45, 50 people. 55, 60 maximum. The figure keeps changing. But they have something called Kidon, and Kidon are essentially assassins within Mossad. They're an elite special operations group. They're assassins, and Kidon is part of Mossad, and whenever there is an attack on Mossad or something like that, some target that needs to be eliminated, and Kidon has its network everywhere in the world, right? And it's not like, Kidon will only go to Gaza or Kidon will only go to Lebanon or Jordan. No. Kidon can reach every part of the world. They're part of the Mossad. They're well-funded, highly trained, young men and women. There are a few women also. Young men and women, extremely highly trained, right? In weapons, in explosives, in IEDs, in communication, in fieldcraft. They are intelligence operatives, but with a special forces background. Many of them are from Sariyat Matkal. Sariyat Matkal, as I mentioned, is the same unit that Benjamin Netanyahu belonged to. Everybody has served in the army in Israel, because that is what the law is. So you get to serve in the armed forces. But ladies and gentlemen, this is it. So I was just thinking that today I would tell you, Ismail Haniyeh has been eliminated, and who has done it, why they have done it, and who are the next targets. Very important for me to tell you this. And Israel is not going to stop here. They said that every Hamas guy is a dead man walking. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu said. And I think after today, we all are convinced that he meant every word of what he said. Now we have a few questions. Partha says the voters of UK voted for Labour, which was accused of appeasing radicals. On one hand, the kingpin of a grooming gang is released on bail, but a few others are charged with terrorism. My question is, how do you see this with respect to UK wanting an FTA? I don't think this has anything to do with a free trade agreement with Bharat. I don't think it has anything to do with it, because that is purely an economic exercise. It's an exercise in trade. And what they choose to do inside their country, we may or may not like it. We may or may not like what the UK is doing inside the country, but that is purely UK's internal matter, and we have no locus standi in the sense that we should not tell any other country what to do inside. I mean, if they want to forgive somebody, they can do it. If they want to let him go, you can do it. But I'd like to say one thing. There are certain people in the UK, Britishers. Tommy Robinson is one of the leaders, and I think they're fighting. This is what I very strongly believe. I think they're fighting for freedom. This is not against any particular race or religion. They're fighting for Britain's freedom, and this is happening in this century. And their fears are very real. UK has been overrun, and radical Islamists are everywhere, and people like Tommy don't stand up. I don't know what's going to happen to Tommy Robinson's fight for justice, his fight for freedom. I don't know what the future holds, though I wish him all the very best. But if, heaven forbid, Tommy Robinson fails, the UK will fail. Thank you for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.